Welcome to the show. We're here at NAMM 2025. This is our newest plug-in punch. Came out 8 days ago. One of the things we had to figure out for the pitch shifter was how do we describe transients without just looking at the amplitude. There's a lot of transient designers or similar out there in the market that expect drums or similar signals to come in. That's just not the case if you're doing time stretching or pitch shifting. So we figured out how can we describe mathematically what this transition from no to full energy means, and then how can we amplify it. And we decided to put this in a nice, neat little package for punch. So real quick, I'm going to show you what we're working with. I've got a house track here. This is with nothing applied right now. Just some clean drums. Anyway, so this is a full mix. Real quick, we got manual gain compensation here. I've got this turned all the way down. So when I turn this on, expect the transients to stay roughly the same level and everything else to get quieter. It's easier to A/B on a show floor like this. Anyway, so this is with it turned on. As you can hear, it sort of grips all of the individual transients very well. You have your overall punch meter, which is how much you're applying over the entire signal. And then you have your bias, which is how much you'll specifically emphasize or de-emphasize certain frequencies. So if I turn this up, the present region gets more emphasized. If I turn this down, punch will be less applied to those specific regions. If I increase the release, you'll regain more of that body and the signal overall gets longer. And if I turn this down, everything that's not that immediate transient detail will go away. We got two modes here, smooth, which has about 100 bands, and then crystal, which has a 10-band octave filter topology. And again, dry. That's the full mix. So one of the advantages of doing it this way is this is not specifically made for drums. So it actually works on a wide variety of signals. Something that I found in my own production is actually it works very well on vocals. So here we got a vocal recording that's just from a radio.
Adairsville, Georgia, about 60 miles northwest of Atlanta. Adairsville, Georgia, about 60 miles northwest of Atlanta.
I just tune this in with a bit more release and just turn this on.
Adairsville, Georgia, about 60 miles northwest of Atlanta. Adairsville, Georgia, about 60 miles northwest of Atlanta.
I don't know how well this translates to the recording, but you lose a lot of the boominess that's in the low end because that part of the signal takes up more space and time and is longer. And because we're shortening the signal, all of this stuff gets lost and the present part of the vocal gets boosted, which is most important for the legibility of the speech. If I just turn this really low, you can actually hear the part of the signal that it latches on.
About 60 miles northwest of Atlanta.
And the more I increase this,
Georgia, about 60 miles northwest of Atlanta,
the more the signal comes back. Okay, I got one more example here, which is just some rocks. I'll just play this dry real quick. As you can hopefully hear, it's a very transient-y, busy signal. It has a lot of tiny little blips that barely overlap with each other. So if I use a very short punch, and let's use crystal for this example, and turn this on in a very, very short release, you can hear it gets a lot crunchier, it's a lot more precise. Smooth retains a lot more of the texture and overall detail. And once I increase this, you get more of that body, more of that ear candy back. And so on. So a lot of normal transients designers would have issues with this type of example because the transients overlap and they're not very defined. There needs to be a threshold for that type of system to decide what is a transient and what isn't, while this just can apply the same effect on different things depending on how high this energy transition is that is happening. Next example I got here is one feature I haven't mentioned yet, which is a clipper. So I got a wall-wall guitar to show that off. So first, this is the dry signal. I now turn this on with, let's use crystal in a very short release, you can hear it only emphasizes that initial twang of the guitar, as well as like all the pickups and initial other tidbits is happening in there. So if I turn the clipper on now, you'll hear only that initial part gets distorted, so you get a lot more grip, a lot more aggressiveness. And you can now drive this into the clipper because the gain compensation happens after the clipper. I just drive this, you can hear you get a lot more of that movement. And then if I increase the release, you can decide how this transition between distorted and clean happens. If I use smooth, you get the same thing, you preserve more of the detail. But it's a little less of that punchiness you get from crystal. Anyway, that's Punch. It's out right now. It is currently still on intro sale for $100. Yeah, if you have any feedback, feel free to contact us. We're always open for suggestions. Have a good show.